VHS is just a yearly tradition at this point, apparently, although I've only seen a couple of them. I saw the first two and 99. They're all completely separate, so obviously you can just watch whichever ones you want. But for me, I'm not really that big on anthologies most of the time. I feel like the shorts don't give you enough time to get as invested as I would like to be, and there's often varying quality between the segments. You might have one that's great, some that are fine, and then one or two that are terrible, and it kind of hinders rewatchability because they're never all good enough to want to sit through the movie again. I remember not really liking the first VHS, but I thought 2 was a sizable step up, and 99 had some good segments as well. If there are any others that are worth checking out, let me know. I heard Beyond was good. But I did want to check out Halloween because of that theme. I wanted to get in the mood for spooky season. My favorite horror anthology is Halloween themed, Trick or Treat, which is probably my favorite Halloween themed movie, period. Sorry, John Carpenter. And while VHS Halloween had some of the problems that I often have with anthologies, just the fact that some segments are significantly better than others, the good ones were good enough that I did have a good time with this, and I would recommend checking it out for people who are fans of the franchise. Obviously, you're going to watch it anyway, as you should, but people who want those little Halloween stories, it's pretty good. I'm not going to spoil any of the segments, but I'll talk about them as much as I can, while also talking about the overall quality. I do really like the Halloween atmosphere when it's there. There are a couple segments where it's barely, if at all, present, and that's a shame. There's so much lore and imagery, so many things you can do that evoke the idea of Halloween, and so it's kind of weird that some of them barely address it at all. There's one that's at a costume party. It could have been a regular party and it wouldn't have made any difference with the way the events actually play out. So I would have liked to have seen it incorporated even more, but the segments that do have it, I really enjoyed the vibes of like the trick-or-treating and the darker side of Halloween, parents fearing that their children may be in danger when they go outside, the scarier side of it. And it is dark. There are some segments in this that are very brutal. The practical effects are really good. And there's one segment in particular. I haven't seen every movie in the franchise, but I would imagine the way this story plays out is among the darkest things they've probably ever done. It's hard to imagine getting too much darker than this one. It's one segment that isn't supernatural at all. It's the one grounded segment, and that's what makes it so scary, because it's something that could feasibly actually happen. And when you realize where the story is going, and you see the things that are being done to some of these characters, I was kind of floored by that one. Some of the segments involve children because it's Halloween themed, and let me just say, this movie does not discriminate as to what it is willing to do to its victims, dependent on their age. It's gonna do some fucked shit, and that one segment in particular, that ending, wow, seriously disturbing. If that segment was a full movie, it would be one of those movies that is effective at making you feel the way it wants you to feel, but you would never actually recommend it to anybody because it would just make you feel like shit. None of them get as fucked up as that one, but they do have a pretty dark tone overall. Another one that I really liked is these two girls who go into this house to get candy on Halloween, and they end up trapped in there, and there is some bizarre, fucked up imagery that ends up popping out of the shadows at them that I really enjoyed. I actually found that one genuinely creepy. There were some solid scares as they explored this house and the lore of this creature that was inside of it. That was probably my favorite overall. And there's another one with a haunted house where the things inside of it go terribly wrong. That was fun, some good practical effects. Those are my top 3. There was nothing in the movie that was that bad, but the other 3 just didn't do as much for me. The wraparound segment had some cool like body horror moments, but every time we cut back to it, it got a little repetitive because we always knew essentially what was going to happen. I know in the first few movies, they actually had people watching the VHS tapes, and that was the whole conceit of the films. I guess they abandoned that at some point, and the wraparound segment is just another segment, and it's just chopped into pieces. That's kind of a shame. One of the things I like about Trick or Treat is that all of the stories do actually connect with each other, and that would be a cool thing to do. But I guess it is what it is, just a chance for another director to make another short, but they're like, hey, yours is gonna be chopped up into 6 pieces, okay? There's the one I mentioned before about the costume party. That was fine, but not Halloween-y, and the thing that ended up really happening, the horror of it all, was pretty simple. I kind of expected more out of that one. It wasn't really poorly made, it just left very little impression. And there's one that I've heard a lot of praise for, and there's things that I like about it. It's kind of the goofiest segment. It's the one that takes itself the least seriously. Some dark things happen, but the tone is very silly, and that's why I was extremely mixed on it. There's some people who take more candy from the bowl than they're supposed to, and there are consequences for that, and there are some really fun ideas there. There's some really ridiculous imagery that I enjoyed. It's the kind of idea that I could have found myself loving, but the dialogue I found so cringy. It was so bad. They were really trying to heighten the silliness to like the maximum level, and I feel like if you have characters reacting to something absurd completely genuinely, that can actually heighten the absurdity of the thing. Whereas if everything is completely absurd, then that kind of actually lessens the absurdity of the events. Because now the characters don't feel like grounded characters being introduced to absurdities. They feel like they're absurd already in the way their dialogue is completely unrealistic and terribly delivered. There's a couple who's engaged, and the guy calls the girl his fiance, and he's like, wow, that's so weird. I'm not used to that yet. Fiance, that sounds so crazy. And then throughout the rest of the short, when their lives are in peril, he keeps calling her fiance, like, fiance, we gotta get out of here. Fiance, let's go. And it's like, what the fuck? Who talks like that? Who in a high-stress situation would do that? And beyond that, just the way they react to the situation makes it feel so ridiculous. I hated the dialogue. It was so cheesy. It did not work for me at all, so I was very mixed on that segment. So overall, it ended up being kind of the experience that I expect from one of these movies. If you took like half of the segments and expanded them out and made them the whole movie with some kind of cool connection between them, that would be incredible, actually, because the segments in here that are really good are really good, and the ones that aren't terrible, but they range from not feeling like they have much to do with Halloween to just kind of unmemorable to a little bit annoying. So I'm never gonna be like a super fan of this franchise or anything, but if you can get more that have interesting themes connecting them like this one did with Halloween, then there will probably always be at least a few shorts in there that are worth watching these for. I wish they would focus on fewer really good ones at a time, but the formula is how it is. Varying levels of quality that even out to an overall decent watch to get me in the spooky season mood. But let me know your thoughts if you agree or disagree with my thoughts on any of the individual segments, which ones you liked the most or the least. What about the rest of the series? Which ones are your favorites? Which ones should I possibly check out? Leave all your thoughts down in the comments. I would love to hear from you down there. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe if you want to hear more from me. That's about it. Thank you for the support, and I hope to see you next time.